Hello and welcome to the video. In this video, we're going to be going through a couple of tools that you can use primarily on Windows 11 to make Windows 11 a much better experience. And for me, these tools just really make Windows 11 stand out and really handy as well. So I use these tools every day. So really good tools that I think you'll enjoy in this video. So some of these tools can be used with Windows 10 as well. So it's not only limited to Windows 11, but yeah, here you go. Let's get into the video. So the first tool that I want to talk about is the Explorer Patcher. This tool is free. Primarily, you want it on Windows 11. Reason being is because it essentially sets all of the Windows 11 start menu, taskbars, and all of the various other items that I'm going to go through just in a minute, and it sets it back to how Windows 10 was. So if you're like me and you love Windows 10, then you definitely want to go ahead and use the Explorer Patcher. And all these tools will be in the description as well for you to download, and they're all free, which is quite nice. So once you've downloaded and installed the Explorer Patcher, you'll then need to, there's a couple of settings that I want to quickly show you. So within the taskbar settings, you've got the taskbar style. So it does default to Windows 11. However, I've got mine set to Windows 10, and as you can see, at the bottom it's got a Windows 10 style taskbar. So you can see very much like Windows 10, whereas Windows 11 doesn't give you much options here. It's just the taskbar settings that it provides. So this is really a nice feature for me. Oh, let me get that. Then we've got the extra button, should be. So again, this one here is essentially now does default to hidden. However, when I did install it, it didn't actually default to hidden for some reason. So it was Cortana. So I switched that to hidden. So just to show you what that looks like, you get the little Cortana down there. If you don't want to use that, which I don't care about Cortana, so I'll keep that hidden. And then that way you can see it doesn't actually show it down there. Then you've got the show search button. So this is by default enabled. So I've disabled that. So that's what that looks like there. So if you want that, you can obviously go ahead and keep that there. For me, I don't care about it. I want that to look nice. So if you've got OCD like me and you just want it to be nice and clean, then that'll be a good option. You've also got the start button style here as well. So you can see it does actually, this one defaults to Windows 10, which is nice. And then you can see on the start button is there. That's what the start button looks like, more of a, like I said, a Windows 10 as opposed to Windows 11. Then we've got the taskbar alignment. So this one does actually default to centered if you don't change it within the Windows 11 settings. So I've actually changed this to at screen edge, and then that essentially aligns all of these various tasks that you have open down on the left hand side as opposed to in the center. And then as well as the combined taskbar icons, select always combine, and then again you don't get an actual split on the tasks that you're not using. They're all in a nice row, so I quite like that. You do have one here as well to actually adjust the icon size. I keep mine to large, but if you've got really good eyesight, you can switch it to small, which will give you, more room to play around with, more space. Take a look on the system tray. We can see you do have the option to actually show the seconds in the clock. So if you're interested in that, I have mine enabled. And you can see it's counting in seconds, whereas the default option would be just to count in minutes. So that's really a personal preference. Then we've got some start menu options. So again, so yeah, it was Windows 11 default. It did default to that. I've selected Windows 10. So at the start menu, you can actually see it looks like Windows 10, as you would expect. So yeah, that I really like Windows 10, so I wanted it to look like that instead of the new Windows 11 look that it has. Um, so that's that, and then we've got the position on screen as well. So again, the default is centered, so it's in the center in the middle, which I really don't like. It's one of the things that I hated about Windows 11. So if you're like me, I mean, there are obviously options you can choose to flick that over to the left, but yeah, it just makes it nice and easy from this menu here um, to just select the at screen edge, which puts it over here as it does in Windows 10. You can actually modify the frequent apps to show. So it defaults to 6. If you want more, then you can add more. I don't really need any more, so that's good for me. Then I've decided to go with the rounded corners. So I think this defaults to not rounded, this one. So I've chose rounded corners floating menu. And what that gives is you can see it's like a gap in between the start menu. And it also, not only the start menu, but actual windows as well. It actually provides a gap as well once they're open. So when you open like a browser or something similar, you'll see that it does float instead of going maximized. So if you want that, then you can use that. I thought that was quite cool. And then if we go into the other, then we've got some preventing some control panel items. So when you click on some things, like for example, if you was adjusting the time of date, if I right click on it, that would actually, if you clicked on that, by default, would actually take you straight to the settings menu. And that's the same for system, about page, programs, and features. This is quite annoying. I prefer to actually go directly into the control panel. So if you're like me and you want that, then essentially tick all of these options here, and then you'll see when I adjust the time and dates, you'll see that actually doesn't take me into settings. It takes me into the traditional window. So that's quite nice for me. So I enabled that one. And then there's one more setting within the advanced to show Windows build on desktop. So again, it's more for a power user. So if you're a power user and you want to see your build on the desktop, then of course you can enable that option there, but by default it is disabled. Next application that I want to talk to you about is Double Commander. So this one is Windows 10 and Windows 11. This one is essentially a more advanced file explorer. So I'll just take you through some of the things on here that I found useful in terms of the settings and the features and how that sort of compares to traditional file explorer. So within Double Commander, if you click on Files, then within here you've got things like creating a symbolic link. You've got creating a hard links that you can do from here. The standard stuff, creating directories and shortcuts. Got the ability to edit comments within a file or a folder. So you can actually edit the comments within there. Then you've got the multi-rename tool. So essentially, this is a find and replace. If you're used to like Office find and replace, where you find a word and then you rename it to something else, this is essentially a tool that does that pretty much. So you can select the file name, is it uppercase, lowercase, etc. Select the extension, and then what are you finding to put in the term, and then you can actually replace all of the items with that particular name something else. You can use regular expressions for that as well, and then you can set a counter as well for this. So this is quite a nice tool to have. Then you've got things like packing files, extracting the files, then testing archives just to make sure that actually the archive is valid and it's not corrupt in any way. You can split files, you can combine files, you can actually wipe partitions or volumes that you have within here. Also delete, obviously use those with care, could do quite a lot of damage. Then if you go to commands, just a couple here. So we've got a search functionality. This search functionality allows you to obviously search for a particular file or folder within the system, and this is much, much faster than File Explorer. So if you're looking for an alternative to finding stuff, this is definitely the tool to use, whereas File Explorer is more slow and clunky. So yeah, definitely recommend that search functionality. Then if we go back into commands, you do actually have quite a nice option here to actually synchronize folders. So if you've got a source folder, destination folder that you want to keep in sync, you want to make sure that they contain the same items, which I find quite handy. And then you can also compare the folders as well. In addition to that, you can also straight from the commands actually run a command prompt window as well, and that runs it in admin mode. Again, another additional functionality that's built into here. And the nice thing about the double commander is that it's free, so you don't need to pay anything, which is always nice. The next tool that I want to talk you through is Microsoft PowerToys. Now, this one is actually directly by Microsoft, which is nice, and it's essentially an open source um, piece of software that a lot of other people in the community are actually working on to develop new features and functionalities for power users, essentially. So, again, I work in IT, so I find this one very useful. But yeah, if you're a sort of a power user, then you'll definitely find this one useful. So this one here is free, so it is a free tool, which is always nice. And also, it does work on. You can install it on Windows 10 as long as it's version 2004 and above, and then obviously Windows 11, which is what I'm using to demo this. So on the General tab, there's a couple of things here. Obviously, you can check for updates and stuff like that, and automatically download them. But you can change the actual app theme within here, and then also you can actually back up the settings as well. So yeah, if obviously you're reinstalling or moving over to a different machine, you can always take those settings with you, import the settings, and then you're good to go. Now, there's a couple of things in here. So always on top. So this one is a really good feature. So to activate it, it's the Windows key Control and T. Once you do that, you're then able to essentially have a window that's always on top. So if I search for calculator, I have that open, and then I do Control Windows T. You can see it's highlighted now with a blue rim. So now, no matter what I put in front of it, it will always stay on top. So again, a very nice functionality to have. Then we've got wake. So all those times where your machine falls asleep, when either you're doing something in the sort of waiting for something in the background, then this is definitely a good one to have where you just switch this on and it will essentially keep your machine awake so it doesn't sleep. The keep screen on you'll need to enable. This one is disabled by default. We do have the file locksmith. So this one, essentially any file that you create, you can actually right click on it and you're able to see what's using the file. And so that will display a list of all of the processes using files so that you're able to essentially close down that process, that file. And then that way you're able to keep out situations where you may be locking files, for example, you're not entirely sure where it's coming from or what's locking it. You've also got a nice one here that I like is the hosts file editor. So actually, directly in here, you can just click on this, and that will then pop up another screen in which you can edit. So you can create like a new entry within this host file if you need to. So that's always nice and handy for issues where you've got some DNS issues, you can't access the internet, and you need to do a quick modification again for power users only. So use caution. Then we've got the image resizer. This one's quite cool. So what you can do is you can have preset sizes for any images that you want to resize. So you've got small, medium, large, and phone size. And these are pretty much all the default settings. So if I open up the File Explorer, and I've just created like a new image. This isn't the real image, but just so I demonstrate this, if you right click on it, Then you've got the option to actually resize the picture, and then you can select, okay, what size, and this is from that preset. You can actually also set custom one as well. So if you want that to be medium, then you can actually go ahead and resize that. Can't resize this because it's not an actual image, but there you go. Then we've got a good one here, power rename. So again, similarly to the double commander functionality, this is very similar to essentially a find and replace type deal. So should have it on this one. Yeah, so right click on this and then go power rename. Then it will say, hey, what you're searching for. You can use regular expressions, and various other settings here, and then what you want to replace it with. And you can apply that to the file name and extension. If you know what extension it is, or if you're not sure, then you just do file name only, so you don't destroy or corrupt any of the files that you're working with. Then another cool one I like is if I can find it, there it is, mouse utilities. So this one, how many times do you actually lose your mouse? Especially when you're working on a white screen, and you've got two screens and your mouse is somewhere stuck in the corner. You're not sure how to find it. Well, for this actually allows you to find your mouse basically. So it highlights it, as you can see here, it highlights it in a circle. So all you need to do for this one is press your left control twice. You can also use it to shake your mouse as well to activate it. So you change that to shake your mouse or press left control twice. If I do that, you can see that now it highlights the mouse to me, so I know exactly where it is. So I think that's quite cool for that one. You also have the mouse highlighter as well. So to activate that, that's a shortcut. Windows key, Shift, and then H. Cool. And then that's it for the tools. So hopefully that was useful. And I'll catch you on the next one.